Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Journey Through GL podcast. I'm your host, Thomas. Thank you for coming along on the journey with me. This is week 8 of the journey. This past week was the week of My Marvelous Dream Is You. I've got tons to talk about with this series. This coming week will be the week of Love, Bully, and Delete Your Past, but I'll get to that a little bit later. This week was really interesting, and the days have started to blur together for me a little bit. A lot of things have happened for me personally, not GL related, and for the things that have been GL related, there's a ton of news stuff to talk about, not all of which is happy, but I'll get to that. I've got lots to talk about with the currently airing shows, and I have a whole ton to talk about with My Marvelous Dream Is You. I will not be surprised if this is the longest episode that I have done yet. So, if you are tuning in, thank you. And if you have been following along and rewatching each series with me, thank you for coming along on that journey with me. And if you have not, but you're still tuning in, thank you anyways. And let's get right into it. Let's start with the news segment. Lots to talk about, but I will try to keep it pretty short and simple. Essentially, the biggest things that happened this week, we had two couple breakups. The first of which was June Munich, and that happened on Monday of last week. And of course, that news came out on the same freaking day that I put out the last pod episode. And the same thing happened with Mew Renee 2 weeks ago. The news of their split came out on the same day that I put the last pod episode out. So I had to use that news for next week's pod episode, and that's what I have to do for this case. But it's okay. What's really interesting is it seems like only June dropped out of Love Echoes because GMMTV announced that June's character has been recast as a different actress named Jo Ying. And it seems like Munich will remain in the series as her character. I don't remember what her character is named. I haven't seen the Love Echoes pilot for quite a long time, but I'm happy that the project is still moving forward. It seems like I was really worried that it was going to be given to a BL couple because Love Echoes was originally planned to be a BL couple show. But then June really wanted to have a show with Munich, their own solo series. So last minute, Love Echoes was given to them and they filmed the pilot for it in one day. It was extremely last minute. June hasn't been treated the best by GMMTV, so I wouldn't be surprised if she leaves GMMTV in the near future. I think that she dropped out to both protect Munich from hate and also because she wants out of that company. So I wish her all the best, but I'm really happy that Love Echoes is moving forward because I think that Munich will do a really good job with playing a person with a disability such as deafness and hard of hearing. So I'm really looking forward to that. The second couple that split up this week is Ice Mimi from Player. They were from Heart Pop Studio. Isa Mina, um, she's not exactly freelance, but I don't think that she's contracted to one specific company either. The two of them did have couple work and they had a few fan mates and a few things here and there, but I'm not too surprised that they split up. I think that Isa Mina is one of the finest GL actresses, period. She's also the oldest. I think that she's older than Fi even, which Fi is like 32 by now, I think. I don't know. But I do know that she is the oldest, and I think that she's by far the finest. I liked them in Player, even though the series was not that great in my opinion. I think that Player is a 7 out of 10. I thought it was extremely toxic, but visually stunning. And that is something that I've got a lot to talk about with this episode with My Marvelous Dream Is You. Tons and tons and tons and tons to talk about. Seriously. I mean, it will go on for a very long time. But for the respect of your time, I'm going to try to make things go as quickly as possible. The next thing that I have for the news segment is multiple GL actresses were flooding Twitter with apologies for using the domestic violence hand signal inappropriately or in an inappropriate context. If anyone doesn't know, the domestic violence hand signal, you tuck your thumb into the middle of your palm and you curl your fingers over your thumb multiple times. That is the domestic violence hand signal. It is extremely important. And Thai actors and actresses have been using that hand signal or a similar type of hand gesture in a context that is not related to domestic violence, but I believe that they didn't entirely know because when one person pointed it out on Twitter that multiple actors and actresses were using that hand signal inappropriately, all of a sudden Every single actress started using the same copy and paste apology that their company told them and posting it on Twitter. Film posted an apology. Namtan, Saizi, Jan, Phi, Sonia, Charlotte, multiple. Even Love did. So it's just stunning. And whether or not they actually knew what the hand signal was or if that was what they were intending to do, we don't know. But I don't think that any of them would ever willingly and knowingly, intentionally use it in an inappropriate context like that, especially for such a serious topic such as domestic violence. So I think that it's okay that they apologized and didn't know. Not that it's okay that they used it in an inappropriate context, of course. Last thing that I have for the news segment is the second teaser for the Dangerous Queen special was released. I have watched it twice. I watched it once when it came out on YouTube, and I just watched it a few minutes before I came to record this. And having a Christmas theme in the middle of July is really interesting. And it didn't really look like Dangerous Queen to me. It seems like they're in a completely different house. If it's meant to be Queen's house, it's a part of Queen's house that we haven't seen before, or maybe Queen and Beau moved into a different house once they got a bit more settled. I'm not sure the time jump between the base series of Dangerous Queen and the special series. Probably like at least a year. Tanqua as Queen, I was really struggling to remember her as Queen because she didn't usually smile that much in the base series, and now she was smiling a lot, so I was not quite used to that. Nur as Beau, I was still used to. It's just so interesting that they're continuing Dangerous Queen and they're not having another new series with different characters. I mean, I'm okay with it, and if anything, I hope that this will make me like Dangerous Queen a lot more. I'm not going to split up Dangerous Queen versus the special series in like my personal ranking. It's all going to be Dangerous Queen, but for when the series comes out, I will rank it among the early year, mid year, late year, whenever this series releases. But it is still Dangerous Queen, and that's what it was going to be to me. However, the one thing that I do have to say about the teaser trailer is the lighting, resolution, colors, and cinematography all look extremely top notch. I was so surprised. It looks incredibly crisp and clean. The resolution blew me out of the water, and it looked like it was using cold colors again, which is something that the base series of Dangerous Queen did really good, is using a cold color palette for its cinematography and editing and VFX and stuff like that. I'm a really big fan of cold color palettes. I'm going to talk about that with My Marvelous Dream a little bit in this episode. And I mentioned in the um one of the earlier episodes, I think that Tim Burton is a director that I really like, and he uses a lot of cold color palettes in his movies, specifically Alice in Wonderland. So that's something that I really liked to see in the Dangerous Queen teaser trailer. But it also seems like it's going to be a falling out of love thing, or Beau is going to be jealous of seeing Queen with that mysterious girl. I don't know her name. I don't know if this special series is taking inspiration from the actual Dangerous Queen special novel. If it is, I don't want to know any spoilers, but it seems like it's very likely at least. Yeah, lighting, resolution, colors, it all looks extremely good. Dangerous Queen, that was probably the highlight of the base series for me, was how it looked visually. So it seems like it's going to continue on that. And if S. Noor Entertainment continues to have high quality cinematography like this, they're in potential for some really good series, in my opinion. I wasn't the biggest fan of the original series for Dangerous Queen, but I do respect it. Let's move on to the currently airing segment, and let's start with AI Girl. And episode 3 was so funny. Jube asking I a million questions at once, and I just standing with a blank expression. Jube asking I to sort her things, and she got it done in like 15 seconds. The camera testing, and I having absolutely no clue how to hold a phone camera. But the funniest moment of all from that episode was when Jen and I were watching a movie, and Jen is laughing, and I does the fakest, stupid fucking laugh that I've ever heard in my life. I friggin' cackled so damn hard when that happened. It's been a very, very long time since I've laughed this much at a TGL, so it's clearly doing something right. My Lady Bodyguard episodes 7 and 8, however, were just more of the same. Ringcam teasing Ko and Ko reluctantly doing what Ringcam asks her to. We did get a nice spicy scene in episode 8, but it is relatively basic, but still quite fun to see. 4 episodes to go, and it seems like there is not going to be any conflict, but that's fine. The Chasing Love finale, unfortunately, was a disappointment for me. There was so much time spent on Pyong and Sung, which is good because they are the main couple, and I did like the way that Ploy and Pull made up and got back together. But there was no thought given for Rin and Mud. I think that having 3 couples significantly dragged this show down hard because they weren't able to focus enough time on each couple. But for the characters, obviously Pyong and Sung are the big ones and get the most development throughout the series, but I'd still call Song a red flag because it was only after she realized that Pyong forgot all about her that she was trying to get her to fall in love with her. Pyong, however, is my favorite character in the show because I think that she is just kind of the ultimate lesbian in a way. I mean, she had her first and only one night stand with a really hot girl that ended up taking her virginity, and next thing, she falls in love with her and imagines them having kids together. Like, seriously, who does that? But it was it was so funny, Pyong and Song, but Chasing Love just had too much filler, in my opinion. If they just had 2 couples and equal time for both of them, it would have been much better. And 8 episodes is not enough if you're trying to do 3 couples, and one of them isn't even good. Overall, my final score for Chasing Love is a 5 out of 10. It's one of the weaker mid-year TGLs and one of the weaker TGLs of this year, which makes me really sad because usually change is really good with what they make, but 8 episodes was just not the right number of episodes. This show dragged pretty hard towards the end, but seeing Romantic Song was pretty nice. I liked it. In Love Forever episode 5 was also a bit of filler, but less than Chasing Love. I still hate the mom, and I think she is totally batshit crazy psychotic. She makes a big deal out of everything when she doesn't get her way. The dad literally never once said that he was kicking her out, and then she goes crying to Runch and Neen, begging to move in with them and saying that she was sorry, this and that, for everything she had done to Neen, which is obviously a whole ton of bullshit. The mom and the dad are the ones that need the divorce and not Runch and Neen. I really loved that they both said that they weren't getting a divorce anymore, but based on the preview for next episode, it seems like that might be tested because it looks like Neen and the mom get into another argument or fight, and Runch tries to break it up and pull Neen back, and the look on Neen's face seems questioning, like, why are you telling me to calm down and not your evil mom? So that gets me a bit worried, but I don't think either of them ever wanted a divorce to begin with. So I hope that they stick with the decision to stay together and not divorce. Again, I'm still really, really liking In Love Forever. Right now, other than maybe AI Girl, I would say that it's my favorite one currently airing. AI Girl, while I don't like the idea of falling in love with a robot, it's completely hilarious. I do want Jen to end up with Irene at the end instead of I, just because of my own personal things, but it's still hilarious. Like the two are nearly equal, so I'm gonna have to see. In Love Forever has 12 episodes, I think, and AI Girl only has 7. So it's going to be a close competition. But if AI Girl can do a good, coherent story in 7 episodes, then maybe that will take place for it. Fire episode 2, I was unfortunately really sleepy for, so I was in and out of focus on the episode, but I do remember everything that happened. I remember Fao walking all that distance just to find out that Fi already had the documents, and I remember Fi telling Fao to sort through all of the rocks, even though they have an easy way of doing it. And I remember Fi pulling that dumb prank on Fao, which ended up with her getting punched in the face, which serves her right because of everything that she has been doing to Fao. A punch in the face is the least of what she deserves. We did, thank goodness, get our first glimpse of Fi caring for Fao in that when Fi realized that the chain on Fao's old bike was falling off and very dangerous to keep riding on, she had her workers dispose of it and took Fao to get a new bike, but she disguised the kind gesture as her saying the bike was old and then saying she was only getting her a new one because her dad found out that she got rid of her old bike. Um, I like that the bike that Fao picked out was orange because it's in theme of fire too. Fi and Fao's reactions when Yod talked about how Fi was caring about Fao because the bike was dangerous to ride on, those reactions were completely priceless. You could make out the expression on Fao's face a little, but it seemed how do I want to say it? Subtle. Yeah, subtle. It was a reaction of you took my bike because you were worried I'd get hurt. So I think that they will start silently caring for each other. We get Din Rose and Nam Lada in the next episode, and we see Fi will get jealous, and at some point, she'll also almost call Fao pretty. So I'm looking forward to that quite a lot. Hopefully, I won't be as tired though, but likely not because I watched The Odyssey the day before on Friday, which was completely amazing too. And I saw Scream 5 the night before I saw The Odyssey. Both movies are really, really good. And I also saw the live action Moana movie the same day as Fire, but I saw it after I watched Fire. All three movies are not anywhere near like each other. They're like, I'd say that they're all 8, 9 out of 10s. The Odyssey is my favorite one of them by far. It's like a 9.5 out of 10 completely. If you can, like, see it on the biggest screen that you can. I don't care what you have to do. It is so worth it to see it on the biggest screen. If you have to see it on Dolby or standard 70 millimeter, that's fine. But if you can get it on an IMAX, definitely do it. Like, avoid the front row seats, get the back seats, but it doesn't matter which side you sit on of the back seats. Watch The Odyssey however you can, biggest screen possible. It is genuinely amazing. As a movie, I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10, but as an adaptation of The Odyssey, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. It was missing a lot of things from the story. It missed a ton of stuff with Athena. It missed a lot of Telemachus stuff. It missed some of the complexity with Penelope, although I do think that Anne Hathaway does a really good job of playing Penelope. It's a really good movie, and Scream 5, super scary. I loved Jenna Ortega in it. She is my personal bias. I have watched everything that Jenna Ortega is in, so Scream 5 was kind of the least of my things. I'm working my way through the Scream franchise. I have not seen Scream 6 or 7 yet, so I'm looking forward to that. And then the live action Moana movie is amazing. It's probably the most accurate to the original out of all of the Disney live action remakes, which there's Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Moana, The Lion King, Mulan, Snow White, Alice in Wonderland, Cruella, Maleficent. There's also a Sleeping Beauty. Um, Let me think. There's not Hercules. There's not Pocahontas. Oh, Little Mermaid. I didn't see that, unfortunately, because it just released at a poor time. Um, but they're all really good. If you haven't seen any of them yet, I would prioritize The Odyssey, then Moana, And then to watch Scream 5, you have to watch all of the other Scream movies. So that would also be last. For right now, the Scream movies, I would order them from favorite to least favorite. 4, 1, 5, 2, 3. Scream 3 was okay. It wasn't terrible, but it was mid at best. But going back to The Fire, I'm liking it so far. It's way too early to have a good opinion on it, though. All right, let's get to it. I have thought that this will probably take a pretty long time, so I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can. Let's get to the series review. The series of this episode that I rewatched this past week was My Marvelous Dream Is You. It is the first Fame series. It was produced by Idol Factory. It released on May 9th, 2024, and it is another Chow Planoy novel adaptation, and it is the third Chow Planoy novel adaptation, joining Gap and Blank. 2024 was really the year that most of the Chow Planoy novel adaptations came out. We got Blank, Dream, Affair, Apple My Love, Pluto, and Mate, all in that same year. And then 2025, we had Us the Series, and 2022, we had Gap. And I don't think that I'm missing any of them. At one point, when I was first starting watching TaiGL, I thought that 23.5 was a Chow Planoy novel adaptation because I started watching in 2024, and majority of the series that were out at that point were novel adaptations from Chow Planoy. So it was confusing at the time, but there's only 8 novel adaptations from her. This is one of them. I spent the last week rewatching My Marvelous Dream Is You. My original score for the series was a 7 out of 10. My new updated score for the series, Nung Song Sam, 7.58 out of 10. I still really like it, not all for the story, a lot of the other technical aspects of the show. Um, let's see. What's a couple positives and negatives I can think? Okay, the lighting and color tone is a big positive. Like I said, I love shows with cold color tones and ones that know how to use their blues, indigos, and violets really well. Every dream sequence in this series is so freaking sick and weird, but I'll talk about that more in a little bit. Um, Another positive, I really enjoyed seeing Juan, Faye's character, lose her mind and deal with her depression because we don't get much of that in GLs. And I also liked the inclusion of her mom becoming an alcoholic after the dads left. For a few negatives, the episodes drag really, really hard at some points, and then they feel like they go by fast at some other points. Like, it's a fast, slow within the same episode sometimes. Juan is also a really, really big red flag. Don't really care though. It's in the same category as attractive red flags that you don't care that they're red flags and you won't hate them. But who I do hate is Mawin, and that is Hang's character in this series. Although you're kind of supposed to hate him because it's male interference, but still. And I also don't like how stubborn the two of them are. Juan and Kim, Fei May's characters, they both cannot admit their feelings, and we don't get our first real kiss until the very last episode. And if you have watched the series before, you might know what I mean by real kiss, but if you don't remember, I will explain in a little bit. I have a couple notes for every 2 episodes. I don't think that I really need them because this series is really fresh on my mind. It's it's going to be a little bit. I've got so much stuff to talk about. Let's just start. The first episode starts off wickedly slow and uninteresting. Juan has the biggest RBF of all time and immediately gets pissed off at Jesse, both on and off air, going as far as to literally call her a bitch on live TV, which that is crazy. And keep in mind, this is our first impression of Juan because we don't know the feud between her and Jesse yet, and we don't know the quarrel that her and Kim had previously before that day. Even Toon wasn't fully aware as of that point, and she just knew that Kim was going to be working for Jesse now instead of Juan. By the way, Toon is Juan's manager in the series, and she's played by Sylvie. I also have to say that Kim taking off Juan's robe and leaving her totally naked in front of her and Toon while they are at work is completely crazy, and that would never happen in real life, but it was in a professional setting and not a sexy setting, so it obviously didn't last very long. It took me a hot minute to get used to calling Fei Mei Juan and Kim again because it's been a year since I saw this show. But once the show got moving, it really got moving. Like the first episode was only 50 minutes, but it felt so much longer than that. The second episode was an hour and 12 minutes, and it felt a whole lot shorter than that. And that's because I was starting to enjoy it a bit more and like the situation that our characters are in. I thought that Kim willingly sacrificing herself for Juan was an incredibly selfless thing for her to do. I just wish that she had told Juan about it herself and sooner. Both of these girls make their characters so real and believable. The last scene of episode 2, when Juan threatens Jessie, saying that she can release the clip and she doesn't care what happens, followed by her grabbing Kim and making her get in the car, followed by an elite middle finger, is iconic queen shit. Red flag, maybe, but iconic queen shit nevertheless. Some other really fun things that start in these episodes are the dream sequences, which are so freaking amazing. I love shit like that. That genuinely reminded me so much of Tim Burton. Um, a couple examples of that, of how it reminded me of Tim Burton, if you've watched any of his movies like Beetlejuice, Batman, Frankenweenie, Alice in Wonderland, Corpse Bride, Sleepy Hollow, Wednesday. And he had a part in the making of Nightmare Before Christmas a little bit. Um, he is just my favorite director of all time, to the point where I've started writing my own screenplays with his vision in mind. And the dream parts of these episodes, mainly the scene when Juan takes her sleeping pills and falls asleep, only to wake up in a living room with a bookshelf that opens into a mine shaft where she chases after Kim because Kim is saying that the situation is to protect her. And also the camera angles on both Juan and Kim and how their voices are distorted and echoed. It's all so amazing, and I love, 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 love it. I love it so much. And with Juan and her pills, we also find out that she has a bit of a depressive alcoholic problem because of the scene when she comes home after drinking a bottle and she accidentally lets the bottle break on the floor. And we see the scene of her and her mom at her grandmother's house, and her mom downs a glass of wine like it is nothing. I think for Juan's mom, though, it's lingering emotions from the father's leaving, and for Juan, it's the stress with Kim. We can also see how Kim is jealous too when Pat, the other actor that's doing the workshops with Juan and Jesse, kisses Juan during the acting workshop, which Faye and Pear, who plays, or no, it's not, I don't think it's Pear. No, sorry, it's Frung. It's Frung that plays Jesse. Frung plays the like other cop in the air, the like gamer one, the slightly more hyper, um, the one that is always by Lom's side, except you probably know who I'm talking about. It's tough to remember. I don't remember her name, but that's Frung. Frung plays Jesse in this series. The two of them completely eat up the workshop scene in every sense of the word. Last thing for these episodes is we get introduced to the first of 3 different versions of Rock and Pam that we will see across all 8 Chaplinoy novel adaptations. In this series, Pam is still a dentist, but Rock is a stylist, which I don't remember that being a thing in Us the series. But Dream does take a significant amount of time after us chronologically, so it could be time changes. Episodes 3 and 4 are more of the same, half draggy, half solid movement pace for both episodes, and these episodes are pretty long. Not many that are under an hour, and I felt myself thinking that it was going on for too long, which isn't always a great thing when the show is really just getting started. Although, as for the actual episodes, I can remember what happened in them pretty good. Like Juan at the start of the episode waking up and wearing just her bottom underwear and going to greet Kim when she is damn near naked was just hilarious and cute to see. The shorts or underwear that she was wearing actually seemed strangely comfortable, and I wanted to wear something like that because it seemed breathable and comfy and just I don't know. You don't have to really worry about anything, but I don't think that they would really work with me very well. And then Jesse releases the clip of Juan and Kim, and that becomes a whole thing on Twitter, which then causes Juan to overthink and stress out and worry, which we see the extent of it in another dream sequence of Juan being surrounded by people's voices saying all of the internet hate that she read on Twitter, and it causes her to collapse on the floor in the dream as papers fall on her, and she reaches out to Kim, and Kim reassures her even though it's dream Kim. I just really love the dream sequences so much. They're so profound and whimsical and Tim Burton-esque. Um, and then we see Juan with her doctor or psychiatrist, and we learn that not only has Juan been having issues sleeping, but she also has depression to a pretty high extent. And we see that her mom has shakes, so to speak, which I believe is common in alcoholics when they're not drunk or in the act of drinking wine. I'm not 100% certain about that, so if I got that wrong, I apologize. But that's a trope that I wish we would see more in GLs. We see depression and anxiety for a few characters. We saw autism with Aylin. We will be seeing hearing loss with Munich's character in Love Echoes. We saw blindness with Film's character May in Pluto. We saw abandonment trauma in Affair. We've seen sexual harassment in Girl Rules and Hometown Romance. But I wish we saw more mental issues and disabilities. Juan's character is very obviously extremely possessive of Kim and does not realize what her actions do to her friend and herself. In episode 4, Juan expects Kim to form her whole life and schedule around Juan and helping her because she thinks that helping achieve her dream is Kim's dream itself, which is clearly not the case at all. Juan goes as far as to ask Kim's next employer to not hire her. Juan doesn't even go to the resort vacation that they had planned, and yet she's the one that begs for Kim to come back because she says that Rock doesn't understand her vision at all and doesn't get what Juan wants, even though it's the first time they have worked together. And Rock has Pam constantly insulting Juan on the side of things, which is so annoying. Pam in this series is also way, way too possessive of Rock because it should be Rock's choice if she wants to be Juan's stylist or not, and not Pam's decision to let Rock be her stylist. Um, I started really liking Sylvie's character Toon and Mint's character Minnie in this series. Minnie is the acting coach that Juan and Jesse go to pretty often. Sylvie is someone who is not unfamiliar with GL. She wasn't contracted to Idol Factory, but obviously she played in this series, and she also sang the main OST for Roller Coaster, and she's going to be the lead in an upcoming GL with a Brazilian actress, which I'm looking forward to. Um, Last big thing that happens in episode 4 is we meet Ma Win, who is the classic male interference character who's played by Hang, and this is the second time that we will see Hang in the journey, and he appears 5 total times. What's really funny to me is that out of all 8 Chow Planoy GL adaptations, Hang is the only actor to play 2 different characters in different shows because he also played Kirk in Gap. And I really like Hang. I just wish that he didn't keep on playing assholes in each series. Episodes 5 and 6 is when this series starts to get super whimsical as shit and really prove the lighting and camera expertise in this series. In the scene when Juan's mom is in the bath and she's drinking her glass of wine before she passes out, and the wine slowly falls onto the floor, and she eventually drops the glass because she passed out. That shot of the wine dripping from the side of the glass and then cutting to a slow shot of the wine falling on the floor, then going back to her hand dropping the glass, then going back to the floor when the glass shatters. That sequence of camera movements paired with the lighting is one of the best sequence of shots and stills that I have seen on this rewatch yet. And I'm going to keep it close in mind because it could also be one of the best sequence of shots from any Thai GL, right up there with scenes from Pluto or the 23.5 fingertip scene. Kim finding out that her mom has cancer really hit kind of close to home for me. Well, not cancer specifically. I did have, let's say, a close call with one of my parents, and it is not an easy thing to just forget or get over. So to see Kim break down when her mom told her that she had cancer was really hitting for me. But what also hits me is how jealous, possessive, and just fucking, I don't know, everything that Juan is. Girl was driving circles around the front of her own home while angry texting her girlfriend, who isn't even her girlfriend at this point, saying that she was making the condo room a mess, even though she wasn't even there, just to spite Kim because she's a clean freak and the only one that would keep the condo clean. On top of demanding to know every detail and Kim's employment from Mawin, it's so clear how possessive Juan is just for whatever reason. It it just seems so strangely funny, but also attractive only when she's not being just completely plain rude. I honestly felt bad for Kim during those moments when Juan was not making any sense while at Mawin's art gallery. Speaking of which, I can't believe I didn't catch this during my first time watching, but Mawin's art gallery in this series is the same location and building used in the Love Senior special episodes as Belle and Prong's art cafe, where Warong tried to bake Prong's birthday cake and where Now proposed to Gil. I actually did not recognize it at all. But funny enough, this series was released before the Love Senior special episodes did, even though I watched them before this series, like in this journey, obviously. Um, I thought that the comic relief from Nam and Songjet's characters, Mali and Mon, started to get a bit over the top in episode 6 at some points, specifically with Mon during all of the school flashbacks, which were super, super long. The school flashbacks lasted way too long for me, and it added so much runtime to the episode. Episode 6 was an hour and a half, and pretty much the entire first hour or so were caused by just including the school flashbacks. Although it was definitely needed to add a ton of context to Juan and Kim's friendship history, it would have served the series better to sprinkle them throughout the many episodes. Also, in the school flashbacks, we see a fun trope that sometimes gets used to movies or shows, which I can only describe as what a character assumes to have happened when they don't know the full story. And what I mean is the scene in which Juan and Kim's moms kiss each other and Juan accidentally sees it. Early in the episode after the award show, when Mon asks Juan why she never told Kim that she has feelings for her, Juan doesn't tell her, but we see that on Valentine's Day when she was going to ask Kim to be her girlfriend, Juan came home and saw their moms kissing each other, and Juan's mom was on top of Kim's mom. They were both fully clothed, but in Juan's flashback, it's to assume that they were doing it out of passion or love or lust or whatever, and that they genuinely got caught because they both do a quick head turn. But when Juan's mom explains what actually happened and that she kissed Kim's mom because she was drunk and broken and confused, and it didn't actually mean anything, that is what I mean by this trope, and that we don't always know the truth about what we don't see. Because Kim's mom pushed Juan's mom off of her, and it was not a thing that either of them were proud of. The kiss didn't even last more than like 6 seconds, but Juan just walked in at the wrong time, and that's why she never confessed to Kim. Episodes 7 and 8 made me shift a little bit. I should probably be really angry at Juan and think that she is totally self absorbed and someone who only cares about herself and what others think of herself, regardless of what actions she does. But I just can't hate her. She's a red flag, yes, but Sam from Gap was also a red flag, and I loved her character too. In my opinion, Juan did the totally right thing at the bar when she took the phone and showed those girls that that man was secretly taking photos of their boobs, but she shouldn't have physically attacked him and pushed him against the window. She should have just left that for those girls to do. And I feel really bad for Toon because she has to try to clean up all of the mess that Juan creates online. I love Toon's character, but I just feel so bad that she has got to deal with Juan, but I can't honestly blame Juan because we know that she has depression, and to a pretty good extent, too, it seems. Faye does a wicked good job of playing Juan in this series. The facial expression, the body language, just completely speaks her character, and she acts exactly like I think Juan would act, both in reality and in the dreams. We see that Juan is much happier in the dreams because she can be with Kim without any worries about what happens in the real world because it's just them. And Juan can love Kim there, but Juan also needs to learn how to love herself. But also Faye is super, super attractive in this series. Out of all of the outfits, masculine or feminine, they look stunning to the moon on her. Like, I don't even have words for how freaking good Faye looks. But then Juan has her 2 month social detox, which is when I realized while rewatching this series that I relate a lot to Juan. Her and I both have chronically online problems. Her and I both think too much about what others think about ourselves. We both tend to speak and act before we think quite a lot, and we both escalate situations rather than de escalate them. And then after her detox, she seems to come to her senses because she apologizes to Kim for trying to control her life and that Kim is her own person and she will respect that. But it seems like the 2 months of not having Juan around was enough for Kim to realize just how much she needs Juan in her life because not only does she ask Juan to tag along and third wheel on a vacation that she has planned with Mawin, but she also takes her when Mawin asks Kim to meet his parents. And when he steps out for a moment and his family start insulting the both of them because they grew up in single parent houses after their dads ran away. Juan wastes absolutely zero time in clapping back super hard, which I will say is not the most adult way to handle a situation, but I don't freaking care because it was badass as hell. And her taking Kim away from the situation with her and leaving Mawin back was sick as hell. And then they go to a different Airbnb to sleep, and the next day they decide to go out and do whatever the hell 20-something-year-old women do, I guess. But then we get the biggest heartbreak of the entire show up to that point because we get a really fucking hot and sexy sex scene of them aggressively kissing on the beach, then moving to kissing while standing against the rocks in the water, and then it moves to their room that they're staying in, and you can literally see the steam in the room while they are making out and 69ing each other. And there, I swear to God, there is a 69 part at the end of the sex scene before morning, and they are licking each other's kitties. um, but it all turns out to be a dream because Juan was drunk, but we aren't supposed to think it's a dream because usually with Juan's dreams is what she imagines reality to be in any given circumstance or what she wishes reality would be. And it's usually pretty whimsical, but this one looked and felt real because it was genuinely what Juan wanted to happen at the moment. She was freaking starving and she wanted to aggressively make out with Kim until morning, but she got drunk instead. Um, Nothing else really happens for the rest of the episode until the end, which would have been a massive cliffhanger when the series was releasing. Episodes 9 and 10 were the episodes that I would say when this series started to follow the typical third act breakup and when my jaw kept dropping at any given point in the episode. We got a reunion with the dads. We got Kim and Mawin getting married. We got the worst attempt at a wig cap or shit. What the fuck is it called? Bald cap. Jesus Christ. The makeup that was used to cover up the bald cap on Kim's mom's head when Kim shaved her head was just horrendous. But that got made up by having the best and coolest dream sequence of the entire show, besides for the sex dream. And and the dream that I'm talking about specifically is the most Tim Burton-esque of all of the dreams. It's when Juan is dressed in a black cloak with a hood up, something straight out of Labyrinth or The Never-Ending Story, if anyone has watched those movies. And the dream is like in this hedge maze with a fog fountain in the middle, which is another one of those weird shit fantastical symbols that you see in fantasy movies. And then Mawin comes out with a cane and glasses that look like motherfucking Neo from The Matrix. The jewelry that Juan and Kim were wearing in that dream just added to how excellent the scene was. I love Fei Mei in this series so much. They are fantastic in this series, and they are one of the most underrated couples out there. And that dream sequence got me thinking of what if the two of them starred in a whimsical fantasy weird shit GL with magic and everything. Wait, that's what Juan looked like in that dream. It was a magic user. Okay, that's what I was trying to think of. Um I just loved it so much. But that dream sequence didn't last for as long as I wish it did. There were other dream sequences that lasted much longer, but that one didn't last as long as I wanted it to. Um But then we come back to reality, and I liked how Pam was trying to help Kim at the bar because she knows that Kim has feelings for Juan, even though Pam herself doesn't like Juan, she still wants to help Kim. What I also loved was the scene of Kim stripping butt ass naked in front of Juan. Even though Kim is drunk, they say that alcohol is liquid courage. So, in my own opinion, I'm interpreting that scene as what Kim wants to do. Like, really wants to do. But she's always shy or overthinks or whatever. It was great. And I was sitting in my chair, literally saying to myself, just kiss her already. Seriously, Kim was already naked and Juan was about to be as well until Mon walked in and ruined it. And then, of course, Kim didn't remember anything of that night. So, whatever. Um, what I'm really not happy about at this point is how much Juan does not let herself be open about her feelings and tell Kim that she loves her. She freaking goes to Mawin's office just to tell him how to properly take care of Kim since they are getting married instead of telling him to go fuck himself and fight her for her love. Even Mawin knows that he will never have a chance of competing with Juan because Kim's heart will always belong to Juan, but Juan is so freaking blind that she can't see it until she has it either written in front of her face or said directly to her in words that a 5-year-old could understand. Even if Juan found out later that Kim and Mawin were getting married, I still think that she would have gone to dig up the time capsule to take out the letter that she wrote for Kim because that is how much of a coward Juan is. This series is mega freaking slow burn. We haven't even gotten one real kiss yet. We've had 2 dream kisses and 2 school flashback kisses, but it's always been one of them kissing the other person while the other one is asleep. There was a flashback in what was it, episode 6 that had all of the flashbacks. It was a point when Kim was sick and Juan was going up to check on her in her house, and Juan heard somewhere that kissing someone can make them heal quicker. So she kissed Kim on the lips when she was asleep. And then there was also a moment when Juan was asleep in the library studying with Kim, and Kim leans in and kisses Juan on the lips, but she's obviously asleep for that. And then the big dream kiss sequence. So we haven't gotten a single real kiss yet. And it doesn't happen until the last episode. And episodes 11 and 12, Juan finally gets the backbone that she needs when she speed drives to Kim's wedding and confesses to Kim that she knows that Kim loves her and that she also loves Kim back. And they run away from the wedding together, which is just so awesome. The idea of a woman being set to marry a man but last second running off with a woman she loves is just so iconic and screams badass bitch, even though it did cause some problems for Kim and Juan in episode 12. It was still cool. Plus, that is what gave us our first real kiss between the two of them. Not in a dream, not while one of them was sleeping, neither of them were drunk. It was their first real kiss, and it paid off because we also got 2 really amazing spicy scenes in these episodes, but neither of them can beat episode 8. Man, I'm still upset that that was a dream. That would have been so awesome if it was real. One of the best choreographed sequences out of a Tai GL, and that's something that this series really prides itself on. Um, It was really cool to see playing in episode 12, and it connects this series to another series in the Chaplinois universe, which is Affair, and we'll get to that one in a few weeks. It was really funny to me that Juan and Playing from Affair were both played by 2 different actresses in different series before Affair came out. And that kind of made me wonder what Affair would have been like if both of those girls played Juan and Plang in a fair instead of Look Me and Sonya. But that thought is not staying in my head because a fair is my all-time favorite TGL. Which is why I'm so terrified out of my bones to rewatch it in a few weeks because I'm scared that I will love it less than before. I really liked the scene in episode 12 too, when Mon and Mali told Juan and Kim how the two of them stole kisses from each other when they were in school, and seeing Kim and Juan's reactions to that was really hilarious. The only bad thing about episode 12 was we got too much of Mawin, and I would have liked if we got less of him and we got more of Toon and Minnie, because after Juan's social detox, we didn't see Minnie at all, and we hardly saw Toon. So if Toon and Minnie could have swapped screen time with Mawin, that would have been really appreciated. That's all I have for the series review. It's time to move on to the OST of the series. And this is the first time that I have two different answers for the OST of the series. And what this segment is, for those of you who are new or don't know about it, each TGL has an OST, or at least most of them do. And so this OST of the series part is me determining what the OST of the list. Let me start that over. Out of the list of OSTs that each series has, which one most represents that series? And this can go into the lyrics or how often it's played in the series. It doesn't always have to be the OST that's played during the opening title card credits sequence. Usually I only have one answer. This time I have two because it was just that impossible. It was even more impossible than Blank, and Blank was the hardest one. I didn't even have an answer for the OST of the series part for Blank until I was already recording it. I had to go back and re-listen to them just to figure it out. But I have two OSTs of the series. The first one is called Reverie by Mint, who plays Minnie in the series. And the second OST of the series from My Marvelous Dream is See You in My Dream, which is played by Fei-mei, sang by Fei-mei. Reverie is not played the most in the series. It's actually probably played the least, but the lyrics have such meaning for Juan and Kim that it's hard to deny that it deserves the OST of the series spot. Some lyrics in the song that have meaning for Juan and Kim are I can only tell you I love you in the quiet of night. I can only hug you until I wake up. Talking about how the two of them used to dream about each other but never confessed to each other until years later because they didn't know what would happen if they confessed. Another lyric is keep it in my heart for so long, you don't know at all. Just friends, don't think too far, but every time we get close, it's unbearable. Again, those lyrics are for both of them, but more Juan than Kim because the series is largely from Juan's point of view and how she wants to be by Kim's side and love her, but she thinks that Kim only sees her as a friend. The last lyric that I have for Reverie is don't want to keep these feelings in anymore. Don't want to scream I love you only in my heart. Will you change if you knew? And once again, those lyrics are Juan's fear of losing Kim if she found out that Juan loves her. I could hear an argument that Reverie is more about Juan than Juan and Kim and that it shouldn't get the OST of the series spot, but I think it does deserve it, along with See You in My Dream. And See You in My Dream is the opening credits OST of this series, plus it's the only OST that Fei-mei sings in the series. The instrumental track for it is often heard in the series, about the same amount as Reverie is. And I chose this as the second one because of the same reasons as Reverie. It's played about as often as Reverie is, and the lyrics have undeniable meaning for Juan and Kim. Some of the lyrics are, can I keep sleeping like this? I wish to keep you by my side like this. I don't want to see you only in my dreams. Again, how Juan and Kim would dream about each other even before they met each other. And then we get to the chorus. See you in my dream tonight. I saw you in my dream again, and it felt so real. Do you know how much you make me feel? Loving each other only in a dream, just 8 hours every night, is never enough for me. Because we see how Juan was able to love Kim only in her dreams to her heart's content. But in the real world, she was only able to love Kim as a friend because neither of them confessed their feelings. That's what I have for the OST of the series part. Usually, I would come up with a few cultural aspects or notices for each series, but with My Marvelous Dream, I couldn't get anything at all. This series had absolutely nothing in it that is culturally specific or educational to Thailand that I could find. Yeah, if the series was set in the United States, everyone spoke English, and it was an American high school, there would be absolutely nothing different in this series. It'd be the same type of Hollywood situation, actors going to workshops. There was nothing at all culturally specific or educational in regards to Thailand in this series, which I should be really sad about, but I'm honestly kind of not, because it made me enjoy My Marvelous Dream a little bit more and enjoy the whimsy and the technical aspects of this show without needing to focus on cultural stuff. Now we get to the last segment, which is the questions, and I have been reading off 7 questions each episode for the past 2 episodes. I will do 7 more questions in this episode. The first question: don't you think TGL are overusing the toxic parent for their plots as the main problem? Personally, I do think so. We've gotten a lot of them. We've gotten In Gap, Affair, Poisonous Love, Broken of Love a little bit. We got that in The Water. We didn't get it in Fulfill or Play Park. We're getting it in Love Forever for sure. Holy shit. Um, we're not really getting it in The Fire. It's really just an enemies to lovers situation there. Enemies with benefits, that reminds me, Wine's mom is not the greatest mom, but toxic parents are something that I really think that we need to leave behind. We need to leave behind not only the toxic parents, but also the male interference. But that's going to really be hard because a lot of the shows that we have coming up have a ton of male interference between Mate, between Pluto, Affair, Us. There's a whole ton of male interference. And in Us, I'm mainly talking about Rock's dad. That's going to be difficult. But yes, TGLs are definitely overusing the toxic parents for the plot. What's a TGL that you think another pairing would have done better and why? That is a really hard question. That's a good ass question. Holy, man, a GL that another pairing would have done better and why? Man, let me think about that. I actually can't think of one. Trying to think of a GL that a different pairing would have done better is really, really difficult. I Okay, if I absolutely, like, gun to my head, had to give an answer, I think that maybe Jinjae would have been able to pull off Harmony's Secret just a tiny bit better, but that's not to say that Look Me and Sonya did a bad job. What I mean to say is if Harmony's Secret was produced and directed by people under North Star and Jinjae played Awarin and Mavika, I think that people would have liked Harmony's Secret more than they did as it is. But I still think that Harmony's Secret is a great Look Me and Sonya show. That's not to say that I want Jinjae to do Harmony's Secret instead of Look Me and Sonya, but if I had to choose a different company to produce Harmony's Secret to think that it would be better than what we got, I would go with North Star and Jinjae playing Awarin and Mavika. But that's a good question. What's the most boring series you could ever watch? That's such a good question. So I used to say Lucky My Love. But then when I rewatched it, I surprisingly had a lot of fun watching it, even though I didn't rate it that high, simply just because it's so short. So, because of that, the most boring series is definitely Mission Lover Lies. It is 4 episodes of pure product advertisement, low production, complete bullshit. I hate that series. It's going to suck to rewatch. Apparently, it's getting a season two, and it does not need a season two at all. So that's definitely the most boring series. Your Apple is a very close second, though. What do you think about how we decide which TGL is the best? Do you think it's okay to go based on favorite couples or be as objective as possible? When I decide which TGL I think is best, the couple does have a part to play in it because of their acting, but I wouldn't place a TGL high on my ranking simply just because of the couple. It also has to go with the pacing, the lighting, the colors, cinematography, the overall just plot and story, and other characters besides the main characters. I want to have a good, fully fleshed out, like, world building. And it's difficult to do, especially with shows that have just 8 episodes. I think that like 10 to 12 is the perfect amount that TGLs should have. But just because I like a couple doesn't mean that I will automatically place their series very high or very low even. I haven't been the biggest Lingorm fan, but I respect them, and I'm surprisingly really enjoying In Love Forever. The Loyal Pin and Gap, I place really high on my ranking, but I wouldn't consider myself a Freenbecky fan. So it just goes to show the quality of the series rather than favorite couples. But that's something that I think that a lot of fans really struggle with is being willing to accept that maybe sometimes their favorite couple isn't always having the best series. Why do you think GL fans get so attached to off screen chemistry? Where's the line between enjoying fan service and expecting too much from the actresses as real people? When I first got into TGL, I thought that Lookme and Sonya were dating. Now I don't anymore, but I do think that they have a really good relationship. The perfect fan service that a couple does, in my opinion, is Lena Mew. They aren't all hands all over each other, but they talk a lot of dirty minded stuff. But I think that's also partially their friendship, and they're just really cute together, and they've known each other for a very long time. I do think GL fans get really attached to off screen chemistry a bit too much, and when some couples don't do fan service, they will berate the couple for not caring about their ship. It happened a little bit with View June, even though both of them are pretty introverted, and View Mim doesn't even do a whole ton of fan service, and I think Mim respects that with View, and it's partially why they have such a healthy relationship. Even though people love to hate on them, View June is dead. Leave it alone. How much do you think cultural context changes the way international fans understand TGL relationships? Um, Probably not that much, all things considered, but it's really nice to have that cultural context to learn more about different countries that we are unfamiliar with, such as all the cultural things in the Loyal Pin. And in Hometown Romance, we get not only a white wedding, but we also get a Thai cultural wedding, which we very rarely see within Thai GLs. So I think that cultural context, while not crucial to understanding the story and the relationships on screen, having it helps a better understanding of the country that it takes place in, and it helps to honor the country and bring more cultural knowledge and education to international audiences, which is something that I really, really want to learn. And it's why I do the cultural aspects and notices segment of this show. What do you think men get out of watching GL? Genuinely asking, by the way, because I'm curious what they connect with in a genre that usually isn't centered around them. And this person is probably asking because I am a man. The reason why I watch GL is because they all end up together at the end, but I also like not seeing men as the center of attention within a series. There's so many shows where a male character is the center of attention within the series, and I like shows that maybe don't have it as the center of attention. With the Arrowverse, We had Batwoman, we had Supergirl, Stargirl, and Legends of Tomorrow, and all four of those had female characters as the center of their show. But unfortunately, the writing for those shows just wasn't there, and fans started to not like those shows a lot towards the end, but also maybe because of budgeting reasons. So it's nice to see when companies care about their female artists and the directors do everything that they can to make a good series, because I want to see these girls have success. And when I'm watching GL, I don't really think of it as just watching a lesbian relationship or queer women relationship on screen. I'm thinking about it as wholesome, true love that comes together in the end. Love conquers all, regardless of the trials that they may have along the way. And I just want to see more women as the center of attention, which is why I want less male interference. I do still want a show with both a male and female cast, but I don't want male interference, if that makes any sense. I want something like what 23.5 had, if you kind of get my gist. That's all that I have for this episode. This has been incredibly long. Thank you for tuning in. I promise not every episode of this show will be quite this long, but I had so much to talk about with My Marvelous Dream Is You. I know that a lot of people are not a fan of this series. Some of them were so unwilling to get past episode 1, which I think is crazy, but I quite liked it. 7.58, that's what I'm sticking with. It's still within the sevens. We'll see what happens. I'm not placing my updated rankings or ratings on a ranking until I enter a GL drought, which will be after like a palette, I believe. That's when the Thai GL drought was, from 2025 going into 2026. But thank you for tuning into this episode this week of The Journey. This next week is a lot simpler because it is only a 4-episode series and one 45-minute test thing with another couple that is getting an upcoming series. This next week of The Journey, we will be rewatching Love Bully and Delete Your Past.